ecosystem is a geographic area where plants, animals, and other organisms, as well as weather and landscapes, work together to form a bubble of life. Every factor in an ecosystem depends on every other factor, either directly or indirectly. A change in the temperature of an ecosystem will often affect what plants will grow there. For instance, animals that depend on plants for food and shelter will have to adapt to the changes, move to another ecosystem, or perish. The different types or kinds of an ecosystem includes terrestrial ecosystem, forest ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, desert ecosystem, tundra ecosystem, freshwater ecosystem, and marine ecosystem. And these are the characteristics of forest ecosystem. The aridity, which is common characteristic of all deserts throughout most of all the year, extremes of temperature which fluctuates in day and night also in season, humidity which is low during day and comparatively high at night, precipitation which is deficiency in the main features of this desert, drought which is long in extreme arid zone, high wind velocity, and lastly soil that contains sandy organic carbon, nitrogen, and moisture.
A large number of plant and animal species thrive in the desert due to their morphological, anatomical, physiological, and behavioral adaptations. In desert ecosystem, you usually see some kinds of plants such as cactus, elephant tree, Joshua tree, and desert sage. Animals that lives in desert includes lizards, rattlesnakes, camels, merkets, and fennec fox.
The desert ecosystem mostly makes up of abiotic components such as high and low temperature, sand, and lack of moisture. Although we may think the desert to be hot and dry, but regardless of the region, any desert is usually cold at night and experiences very little rainfall. Basically, it is an ecosystem that isn't alive. However, there are still biotic factors such as unique plants and animals that survives the harsh conditions of the desert.
What are the limiting factors of a desert? The desert has low rainfall, which gives less water to the plants and animals located in the habitat. It also has a low amount of soil because there is not enough water to give the moisture to the ground. Shelters are hard to find in the desert biome since it is mostly an open area.
Let's proceed to the threats and strategies of a desert ecosystem. According to the National Geographic, there are three major threats to a desert ecosystem, namely global warming, irrigation, and responsible use of off-road vehicles. Now, what are the solutions or strategies to these threats? We can more efficiently use water resources and better control salination to improve arid lands and find new ways to rotate crops to protect the fragile soil and plant sand-fixing bushes and trees.
So, what is the characteristic of a swamp ecosystem? A swamp ecosystem, or also known as a wetland ecosystem, has mineral oils with poor drainage and by plant life dominated by trees. The latter characteristic distinguishes a swamp from a marsh, in which plant life consists largely of grasses. What are the species found in swamp ecosystems? So plant species mostly discovered in swamp ecosystem are maple, tamarack, buttonbush, and black ash, while the animal species found in swamp ecosystems are alligators, frogs, deers, turtles, and even snakes.
Hello everyone, I am Mupikeni D. Catalan, and today I will discuss what are the essential components of swamp ecosystem. Swamps are wetlands consisting of saturated soils or standing water and are dominated by water-tolerant woody vegetation such as shrubs, bushes, and trees.
The main limiting factors for wetland organisms are low or no oxygen and fluctuating water levels. These represent an extreme flood that alternates with long-term drought in plants. The problem is limited to the roots and requires oxygen to function. Climate is a limiting factor because climate is scorching and humid in wetlands.
The main threat of our ecosystem is draining and clearing of land for human use, introduction of invasive species, pollution of water, impact of climate change, and the dams that alter the flow of water. Here are some ways to conserve our swamp ecosystem. First, plant a buffer strip of native plants. Second, reduce the use of pesticides and fertilizers. Third, get rid of non-native and invasive species. The fourth is reduce stormwater runoff, and the last is clean up after pets.